of our communities, change is not just a dream, it's a promise.
I don't have to worry about rising costs and taxes. Dr. Baumia's flat rate tax system is a breath of fresh air. It means I can keep more of what I earn and invest back into my business.
I've seen so many changes in my lifetime, but what matters most is to feel secured. Dr. Baumia's initiative for the elderly is to make sure we are not forgotten. He's giving us the exact care that we deserve.
With digital skills training, I am no longer worried about the future. Dr. Baumia empowers us to thrive in a digital world, making us ready for tomorrow's jobs.
Job opportunities are crucial for my generation. Dr. Baumia is committed to creating job opportunities and entrepreneurship. With his vision, we can build our dreams.
Together, we can transform our nation. Dr. Baumia's plan aren't just policies. They are pathway for prosperity for every Ghanaian.
It's time for leadership that listens and acts. A vision for all of us, where every voice matters and every dream is possible. Vote Dr. Mahmoud Baumia.
Essuroho. Vote number 1 on the ballot.
Do you want a healthy smile?
Maintaining a healthy smile goes beyond brushing alone. Hi, I'm Tanya from Avle Dental Clinic, Ghana. Did you know that you can follow 3 steps to getting your mouth healthy? 1, regular brushing for at least 2 times a day for at least 2 minutes. 2, cleaning between the teeth with floss at least once a day. And 3, use of an antimicrobial mouth rinse that decreases bacteria in your mouth. As a hygienist, our role is to help you discover what techniques and products that personally work for you. So, book your periodic dental appointment with your hygienist today to learn more about comprehensive dental care. Avle Dental Clinic, the smile starts here.
Healthy smile.
Fire pomudi ni agobi Ghana funi aji efise ya your local spices na ya frafra dia ya sankofa natural spice me de go me jollof mu ni mi still ahoduma e ma ne dance
Stanley, the barbecue the go on.
sankofa natural spice and one you use 100% natural.
Adofo, mamu ye huge mistake. Sankofa natural spices. Didi
FDIG ejodi nkratu yatu.
Welcome back. So tonight on the point of view, we're trying to make sense of the numbers. In what way? So we've been having various polls done by Mussa Dankwa, who's a pollster. He's been doing this for the past couple of years, and we interview him frequently on this show. His latest survey was in November. It was a telephone poll. We also have Professor Sarpong, whose national survey on the election came up with a very interesting prediction about the election. I'll start with him, and then I'll bring Mussa in before I then look at other surveys and what they've said. So, Prof. Sarpong, thanks for joining us from Kumasi. Good evening.
Hi, Bernard. Good evening.
Wonderful. You gave us a lot to talk about last week, and also this week is still trending. So, just before we even come about the latest thing you've done, for those who do not know you, tell us a bit about what you've done in the past as far as elections are concerned.
Well, a very good evening to your good self and to our cherished viewers. I am Professor Sarpong. I teach and I research, and I'm the director in charge of the Institute of Research, Innovation and Development here at the Kumasi Technical University. I took interest in elections research way back in 2014, and on my own and on the quiet, I was trying to validate some of the works I had done relative to the actuals that came 2016 elections and the midway party level and constituency level elections that came. So I was ready by 2020 to put out my first national prediction in respect of elections 2020. And I did that. Many firms media firms did cover that. Your brother Edward here in Kumasi covered it live. I met the press as I do all the time. And then we discussed. They had interesting questions to ask. When the a message went out, depending on which side it fell, they wouldn't take the content. They took it at different levels, some perceiving that I had gone to take money from somewhere, to the NDC, who, per my prediction in 2020, was moving from 43 to 47%, felt they had done more and were going to win, and so my prediction was bought. My friend Kwamizu, who was the secretary then, came to me and said, "Tithe is still 10%, and so whatever amount of money I've gone for, I should pay my tithe." It was on a lighter note, but that was how it was perceived. Those in the MPP felt they've done a lot of work and this and that, free SHS that. So they were going to get, some said 56% and so on and so forth. So my 51.4 prediction for the MPP was still not taken as something realistic because they were expecting to get more. Yes, the reality came and I predicted 51.4, the MPP got 51.3, and then the NDC also got the 47 I predicted. So that was in 2020. Midway, I predicted regional level contest because, again, let me say, I don't do this as my main work. I am a university professor and I do a lot of book writing, article publication. I have articles in environment, agriculture, a lot of industry-driven research work. I don't do it as frequent as many, but anytime I took interest, I had a very high accuracy.
So in all these three instances, you did a survey which was statistically representative, and that snapshot helped you predict who was going to win. Is that correct?
Correct.
Good. Now, I need to differentiate that from Mussa, who does sort of this more regularly, because you said you gave me three instances: 2020, one to me, MPP primaries for Ashanti chairman, and then the replacement of Napo. Now, Mussa Dankwa, you do polls. So yours is very frequent. Yes. So Smart is a social scientist. When he's interested in elections, he does a big survey, and then he uses the survey results to predict the outcome. So it means that he models after the survey results, and then he comes up with his result. How different is that from what you do?
Ours is opinion polls, which are quite snappy.
Opinion polls?
Opinion polls, very snappy, and taken over a shorter period of time.
Okay.
We don't go beyond 10 days when we're doing an opinion poll, because political opinion polls get distorted with some noises if it drags on over a longer period of time. And remember, the question is, if the elections are held today, who would you vote for? So we are quite particular about the period of the polling.
Okay.
And the questions are close-ended, not open-ended.
All right.
So we don't find out why those reasons. Those are for researchers who want to inform political parties as to what they can do. We're just measuring opinion at a point in time. So it has to be frequent so they can pick the trend. And if there are any noises over a period of time, the averages will remove the noises that you have in the data.
Does that mean that your sample size will be smaller?
Yes, smaller but reflective of the population size. Because look, the confidence level and the margin of error you want to entertain determines the sample size. The least, or not the least, if you want to have a sample size of, let's say, 99% confidence level in national survey in Ghana, and a margin of error of, say, just 1%, then you must interview around 16,000 voters. But if you want to have a margin, about 1.5% margin of error, the sample size drastically shrinks. So moving from 0.1% of margin of error upward or downward changes the sample size dramatically. But because we do it frequently, we don't believe that we have to do that big sample size every 90 days or every week that we do the polls.
Good. So, Prof. Sarpong, your survey helped you model a potential winner. And in the model, your prediction is that nobody is likely to win the first round, and that the NPP candidate is much closer to 50, Dr. Bawumia, than John Mahama, and that NPP is also likely to win majority of the parliamentary seats than the NDC. Is that a good summary of the prediction?
A good summary, yes. Bernard, you're always good with summaries. So
wonderful.
You attended Presec.
So how do you move from the survey results into the model? Because I know that the survey asks many questions, yet to predict, you have to, for example, do things like voter turnout, and then you take the constituencies that you used and sort of do some assumptions. So I just wanted to explain to viewers how you did your model to come at the conclusion that I just summarized.
Yes, Bernard, thank you so much. And I can appreciate your understanding of how these modelings are done. So knowing what to need in order to model, you have to inculcate all those needs into the set of questions you are asking. So for example, to estimate turnout, I tried to ask the difference between 2020 and then 2024 expected turnout. So once I ask you whether you voted in 2020 and you said yes, it gives me an estimate. That estimate will be matched with the recorded estimate for the constituency, and I have all the turnout estimates for all 275 constituencies that voted in 2020, all. So presidential, parliamentary, whether you voted, the estimate that I got for my survey is matched against the historic estimate for that constituency. And then I strike the difference and get what I call a tuner, like a coefficient, the difference between the what I'm having and what actually occurred. Then the next question will be, will the person be voting in 2024? Once the person says yes, it is then interpolated to get an estimate that is reflective of that constituency. Sometimes it is below the 2020 turnout, sometimes it is a little above the 2020 turnout. But I mean, it is not deviating so much from the normal. If you compare the asked previous, the actual previous, and then the expected voters or turnout for 2024. So if you check my report, I have regional turnouts, I have the national turnout, which is 81.4, and then I can even have constituency turnouts, which I have in Excel for those who care about detailed content of the estimation of the turnout. So we have estimated turnout. Then we come to the actuals. In the actuals, I try to match perceived versus early voting. So I did two things. Perception. The person is giving me a snapshot of the community we are in, or the suburb we are in, or the area we are in, how the voting pattern works, and how the coming election, the voting pattern is going to be, whether it is going to change in pattern or is going to remain in pattern. Then the person is asked who he thinks that in that neighborhood, if elections were held, was going to be likely supported. Then he makes those choices. Then finally, I give you a template of the sheet, the voter register. No, there's a voter, the template, the ballot paper, I mean. And then you make a choice as to if you were voting. That's what I call the early voting. The last part of my question, the set of questions, is early voting. The you vote. So I have perception of the community I am in, their voting pattern in the past, whether the voting pattern is going to change or not, as demonstrated or answered, responded to by the people who lives there. And then I have their own view in respect of who is likely to be supported. And then I have the final one, which is the ballot that they actually voted. So I have early voting results that followed all the 13 arrangements. May her soul rest in peace. Now, if I'm supposed to do a new one, Madam will not be part of it. But people actually voted. All right. Quick question. And then we have the understanding of how the model will be done, because you now have all the parameters.
And based on this 81% turnout, Bawumia has 49, Mahama has 45. If you reduce the turnout to say 70, does the outcome change?
Fantastic. So I have scenarios. So if you check the one on the screen now, you see scenario 1. The scenario 2 is just the question you asked, if you should reduce the turnout. So last year, 2020, no, it's not last year, last election, 2020 turnout was around 79%. So I have that scenario. Still, nobody crosses the 50% mark. Then we have scenario 3, which is what I call the highest estimable turnout possible. So that one, I pegged it around 85.6. I know it's too huge based on the historic turnout data that we have. But just to hypothetically see if turnout should increase, whether it will have an effect on the crossing of the 50% mark. And that works based on the regional contributions into the national turnout, if we should go the highest possible turnout. So turnout will definitely have an impact
but
on
Prof,
versus the 50%.
Based on the historical turnout for elections in Ghana, why didn't you give me a 70, because you have 81 scenario, 79 scenario, and 85. If you look at our historical votes, 2000, turnout 63%, 2004, 85, 2008, 69.5, 2012, 79, 2016, 68.6, 2020, 79.5. So quickly you see that every 4 years, turnout changes. So that the higher turnouts are usually within the first 4 years, and the lower turnouts are in the 8th year. So if you take 2000, it was, if you start as time series from 2000, 2004 was a 4th year. So there's an incumbent, Kufuor, 85%. 2008, he's not on the ballot, turnout goes below 70. 2012, there's an incumbent, it comes down. You follow me? So it's 2008, forgive me, it comes down to 69. 2012, there's an incumbent president, it goes up. 2016, there's sort of 8-year cycle ends. So it would be interesting to have checked what you did with a turnout of say 70 to give us a good sense of possible scenarios. Your scenarios have very high turnout estimates, which the data doesn't necessarily support, or the history.
Yeah, but the 79% is just the recent history, the 2021. And even this 81.4 I have estimated, it still fits into 2020 turnout. You remember 2020, the parliamentary turnout across the country averages to 81.3%. What it means is that there are some Ghanaians who went to the polls, voted for their parliamentary candidate and ignored the presidential votes. That is why presidential turnout is 79.5, but parliamentary turnout is 81.3, 2020.
But 79 and 81 are still very close to each other. Maybe what you can do later for me is maybe as a bonus after this, you can do a scenario of say 69, 70, and let's see what happens. Fair enough. Let me find let me find out for Musa his own approach. So you do polls, which you do over a long period. Now, do you predict after every poll, or you finish the poll and then you model?
Yes, we don't predict after every poll. What you see when we release are just the polling numbers, tracking polling numbers, showing what has changed over the period. Now we are now into the phase of the modeling. We've taken all the telephone polls we've done. We've taken the most recent field surveys that we've done. And in the last couple of weeks or we've done a number of field surveys across certain regions, just to reinforce whether the field work differs materially from what we've known in the past, just to correct some of our understanding of
so this what we have here is just the 8th November situation.
Yes.
Which is not your prediction yet.
No, it is not a prediction.
But you can you from what you've been doing from the beginning of the year, you can see a trend.
Yes, I can see a trend.
So that trend will feed into your prediction.
Yes.
And then the assumption of turnout adds to make that prediction correct.
Yes.
Good. So if you were to make a prediction based on this latest survey, will the prediction be close to this outcome?
Yes.
Because this number is consistent to previous.
Yes. Yes. So what we will release on Friday will be what we call a floor, a ceiling for all the candidates.
A floor.
A floor.
The lowest they can get.
They can get. And I will give you another scenario, which is the upper limit.
So the guy's floor and ceiling predicts his worst or best possible performance.
Yes.
So that's what you're doing for Friday.
Yes.
But you're saying that you don't expect it to be too far away from this.
No.
Because of all the data you're using.
Absolutely.
But it's quite interesting. Then it means that you and Smart have different predictions. So even though you haven't done a prediction, I can say that in your prediction scenario, based on all the surveys I've seen, this is an 11% gap. So clearly you're saying Mahama is going to win and Bawumia will not even get 45.
Another scenario, yes.
Another scenario you're using.
Yes.
And yet his prediction is that Bawumia gets 49 using the 81% turnout and Mahama gets 45. Now, is it because he did a big survey with a big sample once and you did many polls with a smaller sample many times? Is that why we are getting two different outcomes? Let me ask Smart first. Smart, do you see my point here, Prof?
You are right. In fact, the difference for me is accounted for by the differences in our work.
Okay.
So, for example, I would do 276 constituencies. I think the last time I read this report, he had done 111 constituencies, less than half of the number of constituencies we have. Definitely, that alone can account for a difference. Sample size accounts for differences. He does smaller sample size, as we know. And now we'll do a big sample size. It will definitely cause a difference. I visit the communities, take into account the environmental issues, visibility issues, other things that are gathered once you are there present in the communities. He does telephone poll. They all have their strengths and weaknesses whatsoever. But I mean, once the methods are not the same, I think it is accounting for the differences that we can see.
But what do you think about the fact that because he's been in the field for a longer time and he's done the work over a longer period, he will have more historical or longitudinal evidence that your snapshot may miss? So whereas your snapshot can give us the state of the country on the week you went, don't you think that for election prediction, a trend is more important than a state? Do you follow my logic, right? So you're looking at where it's going versus where we are. So where we are is great for that day, but if it's giving you a year or 2 years of where we've come from, is that not a more useful predictive tool election-wise than the big snapshot you gave?
Yes. So Bernard, if I still refer to his report and respectfully, if you will permit me.
Yes, please.
The constituencies that he has visited and has trend data in, I'm sure his conclusions can only be limited to those constituencies. But the impression I get is that he has tried to generalize the outcomes of those constituencies he visited onto the national population. Generalization based on sample is allowed. But then, if there is any alternative where instead of using two constituencies to represent, let's say, I don't know which region, maybe six constituencies in, let's say, Northeast, you happen to work in two, because I want to believe that the 1 or 100 constituencies will be spread across the 16 regions. If you have two constituency feedback, using it to generalize for, let's say, the 6 in that region, and there is an alternative study that has 6 constituencies feedback, generalizing for 6, statistically, you will be told that population would always be better than sample. Just that we do it because frequently sampling is quite easy to do, and because of the challenges that comes with population, we try to resort to. But anyone that increases onto the entire population would have a closer superimposition quality than trying to use few to represent.
All right. We will take a break. I'll let Musa respond to that when we come back. Then I'll also pick some items which I find similar and then some differences, because the other surveys I'll look at, Afrobarometer and NCCE, have some interesting conclusions as well. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Uplifting women. Phoenix Club. Uplifting women. Phoenix Club. Uplifting women. Thank you very much for having me here today. The nation builder John Mahama and Professor Nana Jane are bringing you the Women's Development Bank. It is a very special bank run by only women to serve only women. The aim is to empower millions of women across the country. The bank will have branches all over the nation to provide you with loans with very low interest and on very flexible terms.
Madam, I run a small makeup and nail bar. Do I qualify for a loan?
No need to bother, my sister. I mean hairdressers, market women, women-owned online businesses, female graduates, women in the corporate world, traders, agri, women in all fields qualify for loans. With John Mahama and Professor Nana Jane at the helm, the Ghanaian woman will surely rise.
Vote for change. Vote for John Mahama and the NDC.
on campus and not well, I worry no more. Thanks to Dragnet. With the Dragnet app, I can chat with a pharmacist anytime for my medications, and they are delivered to me right here on campus.
I am a trader. If I need drugs, I cannot leave my goods and visit the pharmacy. All I need to do is click on the call feature on the Dragnet app and I speak with the pharmacist. The drugs are delivered to me right here. Dragnet, ahotoswo papa.
As a businessman, moving around to search for my medication could be very frustrating. But now, with the Dragnet app, I'm able to upload all my prescriptions and have them delivered to me wherever I am. The Dragnet app also allows me to order refills for my mother to treat her chronic illness. Dragnet delivers all the medications to her on time. It's so reliable and convenient. Download the Dragnet app from the Google Play Store or App Store. Dragnet, your #1 online pharmacy.
Here's Kwame and Yao. After hours of planning, both have locked in the same perfect multi-bet. Big win for United, over 1.5. And both teams to score in the London Derby. But who could have picked Leicester over City? Or a high-scoring game at the Bridge? There's nothing worse than having your perfect multi-bet missing. But there's nothing better than having it saved. Bet saver, win, even if your bet misses.
Look around. Home also need a makeover. Oh, mine clearly does. So we went to Ashroom and found the Como collection. It had everything we're looking for and more. Matching furniture for the entire home, designed with you in mind.
Where's Como collection? Dressing up is just the breeze. Always ready with a perfect accessory.
A magic dressing mirror. One look and you're ready to face the world. Or at least the kids.
A bed perfect for young men who want
a table that turns into a treasure chest.
And finally, a sofa with this grand TV unit for family time at home.
Head over to any Ashfoam store now and discover the new Como collection. Ashfoam, feel it, know it.
John, Mama Wakwaba.
Yeah, so.
Alaji, Mama Wakwaba.
Yeah.
John, I had a bro, one.
I really am a gun 19 and I'm going to break a crane Mijano. Don't know anything about Masaba.
Alaji, I had a bro.
Yo, Medasi. Mwamonim, tamana ama wa hochire mo miana na meboaboa ne kakrakra. Na sese de my crowd say me pese me be ware no. Na me kosiesie no. Na me mane san gina ne na aso biom. No ye kra behwe.
Yo, abusuafo, yes empa. Yo, amagana. Wasumo.
Mentumi ensan echi. Sho bread baby a wo de me famwe. Amane hu. Baby. Mentumi biom. Forward ever, backwards never.
John, wo okwan a wo de me bai fa so ahokyere ekom dum so hwa me nana ni ya free SHS ya ba ya kom anya school anko edehwe ya o ma yefe
ase wo ma sesan be shobo sa ahomache tu okro kokra meko band na makwa ko yiska e de abra magana na maboni dwetire ama na starting kokon ketenkete
Akunta, you are still incompetent.
2% side mami abrabo eto chacha to say aviator. There be emaso.
Alhaji has also promised us jobs through digitalization. Ejimambe busu say.
Alhaji there, metena so a na masore. Emiri bia mekani abesa no. Otimi to kanea light e woni phone so. E ma me ba bia wonam bia. Yo amagana. Enya me me ware ama wo. Alhaji ni John Suni, we are choosing.
No Ababa said. Eye Alhaji number 1.
Alhaji
number 1. Number 1.
Esuro.
So tonight we're really looking at what I call the poll of polls. Mussa Dankwa is the lead pollster at Global Info Analytics. Sarpong is a social scientist, KTU. Mussa, you just heard him.
Yes.
He does 276. Mm-hmm. He has a 99,000 sample. Mm-hmm. And based on the central limits theory, he believes that his work is more reliable for prediction. What's your response?
Bernard, remember we have been doing failed face-to-face telephone polls of at least 6,000 every 90 days for the past 2.5 years.
6,000 voters every 90 days for the past 2 years?
2.5 years.
All right.
And we sample randomly 101 or maybe sometimes 90 or 82.
So every poll has a different sample?
In fact, towards the end, we moved to higher constituencies of 110, 111.
All right, cool.
Now, these over these years, we have been to every constituency at least 4 times.
So it's not the same 110 you go every time?
No.
So you randomly choose 110?
110 randomly.
And the results are still saying the same thing?
Say the same thing.
Oh, interesting. So it's not like you pick just 110
no,
and
no, we don't stay there. Every time we go, we run the simulation, pick 110.
Randomly?
Randomly. We don't control where we go.
And yet you still come up with the same conclusion?
So it tells you that something is accurate, something is right. Because if something wasn't right, you see the curve going up, down, up, down. You don't have the smoothness of the curves.
So you see consistency in the response?
In some cases, difference between 90-day period is 1 percentage point.
So you still feel like it's not about 99,000 at once? No. It's more a smaller sample more frequently?
More frequently. And picked randomly. Randomly, because that's randomness is very important. And you see, political opinion poll isn't the same as social sciences polls.
Okay. What's the difference?
Bernard, there are people who will say I'm undecided. Over time, they will decide.
So the number changes?
The number changes.
All right.
But on social issues, my position on certain social issues would not change for a long time. So that's why you could do a poll of social science and that can last 5 years. Opinion poll, sometimes 1 week is too long.
So you are looking for shifts and changes?
That's what, for me, is very important. To be able to predict, you must see the shifts, the changes, and the pattern.
All right, now, Smart, I have a question for you. When I looked at Afrobarometer and I looked at NCCE and I look at Global Info, I saw a similarity in 3 areas. Number 1, what are the top issues of concern for the voter? Economy, jobs, education, roads, healthcare. This is Musa. If you do Afrobarometer, it's the same 5, not in the same order. If you do NCCE, it's the same 5, not in the same order. But in your 5, I saw I didn't even see education in your top 5. Can you explain why these 3, and by the way, these 2 surveys came out in October, one was in November. How come in yours, I didn't see the 5 that I've seen in the other 2? Yes, you have good roads, youth employment. I see water, skills training, and toilet facility. Will you explain this question so that I'm not comparing oranges with apples? Yes.
Absolutely, Bernard. So the global level issues are uniform. You remember my report in May, I listed the things, maybe in the order Musa have his own, just exactly like that. We had these taxes issues, employment, jobs, and all those things. So as for the global issues, I mean, in my previous report, I highlighted that, and it is just as we have it, maybe if not in the same order, the issues are same as we have on the screen for Mussa Dankwa's report. So as for the global issues, it is uniform. And I can confirm that from my May report. What I sought to do here is because I am within the communities, and in the constituency, I sought to visit communities and take their local level needs. So this is the aggregated picture of local level needs, community level needs here in Ghana, so that going forward it can inform the way we do our things. So road construction,
so let me get this clear.
Youth employment.
I thought that if you aggregate the units, the average should be the global, unless you're saying that the question was about local issues. Do you follow me? Because my understanding of averages is that if you average within the population, the aggregation should be the average of the overall.
So to the locals, this is the rank of the needs. So that if you have roads in the global, it confirms. If you have youth unemployment in the global, it confirms. When you come to potable water and you don't find that in the global, then you can observe a disparity between the things you are thinking about in Accra and perhaps what the locals are prioritizing. So your number, assuming they are following the same rank, it means 1 and 2 will map. But when you are mapping the third one, it will mismap and it will give you the stakeholder, the political stakeholder, what you should do in addition to what is number 3 globally. What is number 3 at the local level perhaps will be their public toilet facility or their potable water, things that perhaps will be menial to the global, but very important
it will be nice for you to share with me your global as well, because the similarity between Mussa, NCC, and Afrobarometer is quite striking. Apart from that as well, there was a question in Afro about the country's direction. Again, they do, Afrobarometer does 2012 to 2024, and it's quite striking. They also say the country is going in a bad direction, 82, in the right direction, 15. It's very similar to Mussa's average for wrong direction, right direction. Do you ask that question? That's number 1. Then issues around voter apathy and I will not vote. Again, when you look at the data carefully, NCC, Afrobarometer, and Mussa all have a certain percentage of people who say, I'm not likely to vote. And that seems to fall within the 18 to 29-year age group. Again, that similarity is quite striking. Did you ask anything around likelihood to vote? Did you have an age aggregation of it? Because one of the ways we are taught to check a survey is to compare it with others to see if there are similarities. I know they are asking different questions, but I thought they were striking. I just wanted your comment on those 2 points.
Well, so whether the nation is heading to the right direction or not was not one of the questions I asked.
Okay.
Because we are here in Ghana and Bernard, year on year, the coming Christmas, the previous Christmas will be better than the coming Christmas. I'm sure you have the videos of some of the shots you took from our markets last year, Christmas. We will compare that one to the coming Christmas, and they will tell you that one was better than the 2024 Christmas. Human needs will definitely be insatiable, and definitely the outcomes that we see in Afrobarometer was expected. In year on year, take Afrobarometer year on year, and you would see that the human being will answer things were better yesterday than today. It's normal. I mean, that notwithstanding, my answer to it is that I didn't capture that as part of my questions. I went to see community level needs and as to whether the political parties are responding or government in power or the MMDCs, or how well are their local needs being responded to. And then we shift it into the voting pattern, and then we move it onto likely to win communities, and then they will take their early voting. So that is the design that we went out with. So some of the questions that you find in those previous works done by others, respectfully,
so did you ask a question about likelihood to vote?
Oh yes, so that is how I estimated my turnout. I think I explained that one earlier. So I asked whether they will be voting. So did you vote in 2020 elections? Answers came. And then will you be voting? Are you likely to vote in the coming election? That one too came. There are those, about 5%, who simply wouldn't vote due to the reasons we know, religion, faith-based issues, and
because I asked this because the people who say that they would not vote, the surveys show a certain age categorization. Younger voters and women are generally less likely to say they will vote than, and then urban voters.
We can do that.
Yeah, did you do that? It would be nice to share, because again, we want to see the consistency to check, because
similarity,
and for now, a lot of your results, at least on the questions I'm asking, they don't seem to align with the other 3, which is why I'm pushing this.
Right, so it can be done. The data set is there, age category is there, they're likely to vote. They will just have to map them, and they will see the age range and how they behave in respect of the coming elections.
So maybe you share that with us as well, so that. But by the way, do you take interest in these other polls, or I even call them poll surveys, because Afrobarometer is a survey, as is NCC. Did you take interest, not to necessarily guide your questions, but to compare your results? Is that of interest to you?
Oh, not. You see, you do the desk review, but not to necessarily go the way others have gone. One day I'm looking to a day where we would all decide to use the same instrument. We would all decide to go to the same number of constituencies and then do the same period, come back, and then we can have a very fair platform for comparison. Other than that, I think that, if I seriously, Bernard, I hold the view that local level capacities, like myself, like my brother in studio, like many others who have taken interest locally, needs to be empowered. In fact, I would always believe local level studies than these ones that we keep referring to, Fitch Solutions and blah, blah. They take a more observational view, and then they pass their judgments based on the trend and pattern of the views that they have taken. But I mean, like Musa said, and like I do, the places we will have time to visit, your Fish Solution and Economic Intelligence Unit, blah blah blah. They are doing many countries also. I haven't actually used. I'm using NCC, who did a national survey. They've done it since 2012. Yes. And I use Afrobarometer, who have done it for over 25 years. So I'm basically using. Yes. And Afrobarometer is CDD Ghana, who do Ghana face to face. Same as NCC. So I've not mentioned Fitch and I've not mentioned EIU at all. I'm mentioning surveys NCC, done in country. NCC, for example. Yes, NCC, for example, I think I had their expected turnout, and it was around the same turnout that I got for my national estimated turnout. So that one I had. It wasn't. NCC. No, the question they asked was your likeliness to vote, willingness to vote, and the largest number was 97.4 for Northeast region, and the lowest was 70%. So that is voter intention, but that cannot translate necessarily into turnout, because we've never had a 97% voter turnout. So the way to treat that is not, you can't use that as your turnout. Bernard, we've had the turnout as high as 96% before, and I can refer to 2020 elections in some constituencies where turnout was as high as I'm talking regionally. They gave 13 regional summaries. The highest was 97.4 for Northeast. The lowest was Greater Accra, 70. And I'm saying that those regional voter intentions have to be treated before you can convert it into a turnout like you did. You did a turnout based on historical. Excellent. That's what I'm saying, yes. I'll take a break. I'll come back and wrap up. Stay with us. Thank you.
Life is a celebration of moments, big and small.
The sun is scorching, I'm feeling the heat.
With Piva Drink, every moment becomes a refreshing celebration. From the beach to your home, in every corner of your world, Piva Drink adds a burst of refreshment.
Give me Piva Pacto and Tangerine.
Celebrate every moment with Piva Drink. Refreshment for every occasion. Piva Drink, a taste you will love.
Piva.
This advert is FDA approved.
Now, since 2017, the MPP has invested heavily in healthcare infrastructure. I don't even want to talk about zipline drones that have today saved over 1.2 million lives. We've completed 6 out of the 9 stalled and abandoned UJET health sector projects that we inherited since 2017. And we've started and completed new 47 non-Agenda 111 hospitals, clinics, and healthcare projects, including 21 clinics through IPEP. We've also started 17 non-Agenda 111 hospitals, clinics, and healthcare projects currently at various stages of completion, including 5 clinics through IPEP. And we started 21 new treatment and holding centers, 13 of which have been completed. Also, Agenda 111. That's a different debate. So if you're looking for the party or the candidate who represents the most investment in healthcare infrastructure, not just one hospital in a particular place, but spread in many parts of the country. That party, that candidate is Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia.
Here's Kwame and Yao. After hours of planning, both have locked in the same perfect multi-bet. Big win for United, over 1.5. And both teams score in the London Derby. But who could have picked Leicester over City? Or a high-scoring game at the Bridge? There's nothing worse than having your perfect multi-bet missing. But there's nothing better than having it saved. Bet saver, win, even if your bet misses.
Hi, my name is Ochiame Kwame. I live at the plush Leisure Den Symphonic, a real estate property developed by Whaley Properties, the very developers of Vista Del Mare and the beautiful Alphabet City. So come with me to site. Let me introduce you to your new home, a gated community with 24-hour security in the heart of Sarpong. Behind me is going to be Willow Lane, where elegance will meet tranquility. You are going to be greeted with a 4-bedroom ensuite home with an elevator, swimming pool, children's playground, constant electricity, and many more. But wait, it gets even more interesting for early birds like you. You get a whopping $50,000 discount. Yes, I said $50,000 if you purchase between now and the end of this month. So call us now or visit us. Willow Lane, where elegance meets tranquility.
Luck is everywhere. 8K. Hey, wait. You can put it on his tab. This is my man. Good luck.
Google radio. We are star 712. I'm on dialing the magic numbers. Star 712. Now welcome to the luckiest. And now with me at home ticket. You can buy for yourself or your loved ones.
Mommy, tell mommy who's here.
You're buying for me, right?
Or who else?
Oh.
Let's choose buy tickets for others.
Love you, boo boo.
Maybe straight to option 4. Now you need to buy tickets worth 50 Ghana to qualify. Yes, you can buy random or preferred tickets. I'm choosing random ticket. Listen, if you buy the random ticket, the system chooses a random number for you. But if you buy the preferred, you get to input your own preferred 5 digits. 5. Now follow the prompt and confirm. Now the luckiest.
The luckiest is regulated by the NLA on the Caritas platform, not for persons below 18 years. TNCs apply.
Welcome back. We are trying to come to conclusion on how to make sense because we are looking for insight. Mussa Dankwa Polestar, 2.5 years, 6,000 each, lots of numbers. Smart Sarpong, 99K, big sample. Interesting predictions. Smart is predicting a second round, and he has 3 scenarios. Says he can do more. Mussa says based on his model he's finalizing on Friday, the NDC candidate will win a first round. Now, I just wanted your comment on what we just discussed in relation to other surveys and what they say, and whether you look out for that, and that what else you think about that?
You know, with any pollster, you tend to ask questions that are very common and familiar with the voters, just to try and see what you are seeing is similar to what others are seeing. And then there are certain questions that are asked, whether there's bad Christmas or good Christmas, the direction of the country. It gives you a sense of measurement. You could be doing 70% wrong direction. In that level, or that level, you see incumbent losing. But when wrong direction is about 40%, you see the incumbent retaining power. So there's a correlation between the perception of where we believe we are headed. The higher the number, the greater the chance of incumbent losing the election. So in other jurisdictions, this is done. It gives you a bit of triangulation of how people in the end vote. So if people are saying that, let's say around 65% are saying that Ghana is headed in the wrong direction, it should not be surprising that an opposition candidate is leading and going to win one touch. There's a link between those questions and the eventual voting intention. So we tend to do that. And look, there are certain questions we have kept constant. The direction of the country, the performance of the president, government performance as a whole, people's standard of living, and their own economic condition, cost of living. These are what the factors that determine the outcome of any election. And then what are the top issues, top 3 issues when it comes to voting? Those will determine what determines how people vote. And we can look at those who say education, who are they voting for? Those who say economy, who are they voting for? And those who say jobs.
So for you, the fact that the other 2 surveys align in a way with yours heartens you.
Yes.
Because you believe that that means that you're doing something right.
Absolutely.
So you like to see his general top 3 issues.
It will be very interesting
because he gave us the local.
I would have thought that, you see, the local issues tend to affect parliamentary seats.
Yes.
The national issues determine the presidency.
So he says you share that.
Nobody will vote for president because he needs toilet in his community.
Absolutely. So he says you share that. And then the issue about floating voters. What trend are you noticing in relation to, so for example, is a candidate, now there have been campaigns a lot these 2 weeks, right? So even though you say you are doing sort of a longitudinal, he's doing a snapshot. I mean, Bawumia has been in Ashanti for 3 weeks before he moved to the Greater Accra. Mahama has been in Eastern and he's gone to Western. Does your survey show is this sensitive movement to these things?
Look, Bernard, for 6 weeks that we've been polling, Ashanti region has not crossed 68%.
68% what?
For Bawumia, even while he was there.
So this 68% what?
Look at Ashanti region.
So AR is second column.
Ashanti, yes. For the 6 weeks, the average for Bawumia has been 65% in the Ashanti region.
Voter preference?
Preference, on telephone.
And Mahama is 27% for Ashanti.
Yes. When we went back again after this survey in the field in Ashanti region with nearly 4,000 samples, Bawumia, when he was there, he went to 68%, and Mahama goes to 29%.
So when he was there, it was 68, and Mahama. Yes. So do you have a moving average for the?
In fact, we have the whole 2.5 years moving average.
And from what you see, can Bawumia cross 70% in Ashanti?
I would say no.
You don't think so?
No.
What would Mahama's number in Ashanti be based on where it's heading?
I'll put it around 28%.
So he will be, that's like 20, that's a bit higher than a 2012. 2012, he had around 27%.
I think it will be around 28%. If he does 30%, that will be super performing.
So you're saying Bawumia will perform worse than Nanado in all his previous elections in Ashanti?
Yes.
What is your Northeast region saying, just to check?
Bawumia is winning handsomely there.
61-36.
Yes.
Let's take a region like Greater Accra, where we have you're giving Mahama 65.
In fact, my spouse says that Accra is bad for Bawumia, and this is confirming probably what.
Who says?
Smart Sarpong.
Smart, are you there?
I'm here, Bernard.
You did a constituency level aggregation, correct?
Yes.
So, were you able to aggregate your constituency to get a region? So, for example, for Greater Accra, when you put your 34 constituencies together and you average, what did you give Bawumia? What did you give Mahama?
Well, so at the end, I aligned 7 regions showing lead for Bawumia, and then 9 regions showing lead for former President Mahama. The 9 regions showing lead for Bawumia, the 7 regions showing lead for Bawumia were Northeast coming from the Northeast, Ahafo-Bono. We have Western, Central, Eastern, and Ashanti.
So let's go through. So hold on. Northeast, Ahafo-Bono, Western, Eastern, and what? Central.
Central, and then Ashanti.
So let's take it. So Northeast, it aligns with Musa. Ahafo, you gave it to Bawumia, but Musa says Mahama. Bono, he says Mahama is winning. Leading. Central, he says Mahama is leading. Eastern, he says Bawumia is leading, just like you said. And then Western is also Mahama. So the only 2 you align with is Northeast and Ashanti.
And Eastern.
So 3 out of the 7. You give Mahama, where do you give Mahama in your model?
The rest.
So, Smart, for you, Bawumia wins 7 and Mahama wins 9. But obviously, the 7 include Ashanti, which is much bigger. Which is how come, at the end of the day, he wins in your model.
Yes, but the reason why my brother Musa's model will put President Mahama in lead in Ahafo is perhaps because of the choice of 2 out of 6 constituencies in Ahafo. And interestingly, those 2 included the Sutifi South and then one other constituency. And we know Collins Dowd's constituency and the other constituency are likely NDC dominated constituencies. So that is the challenge you get when you choose some as compared to when you do all.
What number did you give Bawumia in Ahafo? And John, I just want to compare. He gave Bawumia 37 and Mahama's 59. What did you give for the 2 in Ahafo? Percentage.
So for the regional Ahafo, yes. So let me check Ahafo.
Yes.
Ahafo, yes. So Ahafo, we have 60.2% for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, 34.5% for President Mahama.
Wow.
And then 2.6% for Alan. So Alan is 3rd in Ahafo, 1.9 for Nana Bediako, and then all the others put together 0.8 in Ahafo. And this is after visiting communities. Yes.
What did you give Bawumia and Ashanti? And Mahama?
Ashanti.
Yes.
Yes, Ashanti. Yes, so this is Ashanti. Ashanti, Dr. Bawumia 75.9.
75.9.
President Mahama 22.1.
So that's even worse than 2020 for Mahama, and much better than Ananado for 2020.
Yes.
All right. What about Greater Accra?
Yes.
What did you give for Greater Accra for the 2?
Greater Accra. Yes, so Greater Accra, we have President Mahama 52.3, Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia 40.5.
So,
and then
can you repeat that? Can you repeat that? Greater Accra.
Former President Mahama is in lead 52.3.
And then Bawumia.
Then followed by Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia 40.5.
40.5.
Then we have Nana Bediako 4.4, Chief Alan 1.3, the remaining 1.5.
Wonderful. So these regional breakdowns times expected turnout is how the model predicts the election, I guess, for both of you, right?
Fantastic.
So at least we've agreed on something. So this division times expected turnout compared to the registered voters gives you the outcome. And by the way, Greater Accra has the largest voters now. They have 3.7 million. Ashanti has 3.5, and then it goes all the way. So I think this is great. I'll thank both of you for giving us different perspectives on this matter. But if I were to press you, final prediction, Smart, you are sticking by second round. We don't have a first round winner. Professor Smart.
In fact, I would wish that they work very hard to spare us the stress we go through if we have to do a runoff. And I'm sure it will not be difficult for the leader 49.1 to cross 50% mark. Neither is it going to be difficult for the second place 45.8 to cross the 50%. What is difficult will be the remaining from where they are trying to cross the 50% mark. So I wish them well.
You wish them well. What about you? You've not done your prediction yet, but based on what we know, what if you were betting today, what should I put my money on?
No runoff.
No runoff?
No.
Who wins first round?
Mahama wins first round.
Mahama wins first round?
Yes.
No run. Parliamentary?
Parliamentary, NDC will have majority in parliament.
He says MPP will have majority.
I say NDC.
Well, we have only 10 days to find out. Thank you, gentlemen. Professor Sarpong, who is the head of research at Kumasi Technical University, and Mussa Dankwa, who's the lead researcher at Global Info Analytics. He's a pollster, social science polls. Thank you for watching. We hope you've learned something new. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.